organization. And before we get started, like to go over how we do things on Zoom, because maybe some of you haven't been to our Zoom meetings yet, but basically you may have seen something about recording in progress. We do record the meetings and then they go to our YouTube channel. But we've also found that far more people watch the YouTube recording of the meetings than actually show up to the meetings. And so what we're going to do is we're going to send an email out tomorrow. And the title of the email is going to be Links from the October Meeting. And this email is going to go to everybody who's here tonight and people who registered but could not attend. We had 36 register for the meeting. And as you can see, if you're looking around, they're not all here yet. But the email is also going to have some other links. And what we have found is that sending this email out the next day is far better than putting links in the chat, because then you got to go back and forth to the chat. If you want the link, try to recover it. So you'll get an email tomorrow with all the links that are relevant. The first two links will be become a member of the Cuyahoga County Progressive Caucus. And that's because we have people that come to our meetings that aren't members. They saw it on Facebook, they like the topic, and then they come to the meeting and they like what they hear, and so they join. Membership in our organization is free. All you got to do is click that link. If you're not a member, give us your contact information and you'll start getting our emails. Of course, there's a link to donate to the Cuyahoga County Progressive Caucus. We are all volunteer funded, all volunteer staff, and we depend on small donations from people like you to stay in business and to pay for our software and so forth. Then there'll be a link with a video of this event. People who registered that couldn't make it, but if you like this meeting and want to share the video, that would be great. We'll also have links relevant to this meeting. One of the titles is going to be Upcoming Solidarity with Palestine events. And then our other speakers from a campaign called Cut the Salt, and I think she's going to send us links about that as well. And finally, you'll get a description and a link to register for our November meeting. Our November meeting is entitled Election Recap. And so I hope that is a happy meeting. But if you're looking at the polls, we've got to be prepared for the worst. Speaking of the election, before we get started, one of the things that the Progressive Caucus would urge you to do these last 3 weeks is whatever you can. Okay, make calls, knock on doors. We're not likely to be a factor in the presidential election here in Ohio, but we've got issue 1. We've got the Supreme Court races. We got Sherrod Brown running for re-election, although not perfect. I like to tell people, who would you rather have in the Senate voting on the next Supreme Court justice, Sherrod or Bernie Moreno? So I know it's tough, but we've got to get those candidates elected. So do something, do whatever you can these last 3 weeks. Deb Klein is our tech person. And what we have kind of a system when our speakers are done. You can either raise your hand to ask a question, or you can write that question in the chat, and Deb will keep track of it. So people don't need to look in the chat for this.
Steve,
okay.
Steve,
yes.
If I could just add, raise your hand doesn't mean doing this. It means using the icon below to raise your hand so that you get put up in the queue.
Right. Especially if you're not showing us your picture. We wouldn't be able to see if you raised your hand. So our first speaker is Ashley Hebert. She is from the Cut the Salt campaign, which CCPC is a part of the coalition, working for a resolution or ordinance by Cleveland City Council that would require restaurants to post the sodium amounts on their menu items. And this is very important legislation. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but 40% of Cuyahoga County residents actually have high blood pressure. And I'm actually one of them. I'm on a low sodium diet. And my guess is some of you are too. Not necessarily on a low sodium diet, but have high blood pressure. So, Ashley, tell us a little bit more about the Cut the Salt campaign.
Yes, thank you so much for having me today. My name is Ashley Abear. It is Cajun French, and people mispronounce it every day, but it's totally okay. I am in Lafayette, Louisiana, which is Cajun country. Can everyone see my slides okay?
Yes, you're good.
Perfect, perfect. So I'm with the Center for Black Health and Equity. We are a leading nationally recognized public health entity. We work to find solutions impacting African American health. We engage healthcare organizations, public health officials, faith leaders, and African American communities in health promotion and disease prevention work. We are jointly headquartered in Mhm. I'm sorry, what was that?
It didn't, I don't know what that was, Ashley.
Cool. We're jointly headquartered in Cleveland and Durham, North Carolina. That's my contact information, and I'll share that with everyone, and you'll receive that in the update tomorrow from Steve. So Cut the Salt, Keep the Flavor is an initiative we've been working in Cleveland for the last 3 years. Started with the AME Church, forming this coalition. It's multi-generational, multicultural, and it's super important. They have spearheaded this coalition for us because the objective is a sodium warning label policy to provide information to Cleveland residents with the necessary information to make informed decisions regarding their health. A lot of people in Cleveland have high blood pressure, as you just heard from Steve. So why? I know you've heard this before. Sodium is a silent killer. Sodium labels are necessary to, reduce healthcare costs in the long run and improve health outcomes as well. Most Americans are having too much sodium in their daily diets, and they're getting that from restaurants. Restaurants and processed food are the leading causes of over salt consumption. The ideal limit is really 1,500, but Americans are getting up to 2,300 milligrams of sodium a day. And, 500,000 deaths a year per the CDC are related to high blood pressure. Therefore, sodium intake could prevent thousands of deaths annually. So this is an example of the sodium warning that we're working to pass. As you can see, the top one there is just a statement saying, hey, sodium content higher than the daily recommended. And you see the triangle next to the entree there. And I can definitely attest to the Cajun shrimp and chicken pasta being a high sodium item. So why this matters? Again, the majority of sodium is coming from restaurant processed food, and evidence suggests that these warnings, just providing simple information, can help decrease consumption of certain products like salt. So the prevalence of high blood pressure among Black people in the US is among the highest in the world. Heart disease is the #1 killer for all US adults, and stroke #5. The risk of getting those diseases are even higher for Black people. This is something that I told Black people daily when I worked for the American Heart Association, even having my own heart attack as well at 32 years old. So this is something that I can attest to because I'm living, breathing proof that this matters to people of color. So Black people in Cleveland, all people of Cleveland can improve their health, their odds by preventing and beating these diseases. This is a good step forward as well. Sorry, this is a 2-year-old busted in. So Each community in Ohio has completed a community health needs assessment. There's sometimes called the CHNA, and it's a local and state assessment that identifies the key health issues through systematic, comprehensive data. And these assessments give organizations information about the current health status of a location, and it can be helpful in developing health improvement plans. Like many cities, Cleveland conducted a CHNA with astounding support from the city's health department, stakeholder organizations, to address the city's current health needs. The three leading causes of death in Ohio in general are heart disease, cancer, and COVID-19. The findings of the CHNA notes that evidence-based policies can move the dial in terms of health outcomes. Cut the salt is one of those policies. Health and policy should go hand in hand. During the work that we've been doing for the last few years with Cut the Salt, we're seeing lots of pushback from certain lawmakers. And when one lawmaker impedes the democratic process, we have to mobilize. And that's why I'm here today presenting this to you. We would greatly appreciate if you join our coalition by texting SALT to 52886, and also following that link to email Council President Blaine Griffin. I will share that link with Steve and you'll get it tomorrow, but you can always text SALT to 52886 and join our ranks. We'd greatly appreciate you. Are there any questions for me? Okay. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you, Ashley. Okay, our featured speaker today, and you know that we are sadly at about the 1-year mark since the invasion of Palestine began. And I think I saw something that said the current death total is about 42,000. Malak Rashid is from CPAC, the Cleveland Palestine Advocacy Committee, and she's going to tell us kind of what that organization is doing and what you can do to be in solidarity with the people of Palestine.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for allowing me to join you all tonight. My name is Malak Rashid. I am a member of the Cleveland Palestine Advocacy Community, CPAC. It is a coalition of diverse individuals and is multi-generational and is made up of organizations and individuals who are united for a shared mission, which is to organize the people of Greater Cleveland and Northeast Ohio around the issue of Palestinian rights, justice, and liberation. Our community brings together voices from all walks of life, and we are committed to raising collective consciousness and promoting positive change. Our strategy and how we approach this work, and we really mobilized, while many of the members have been consistently in their lifetime active for Palestine, this work started after the attacks on October 7th and the ongoing a genocide and attacks on the Palestinians in Gaza and now the West Bank, and has moved towards Lebanon and other allied countries. Our strategy is focused on two main pillars, which is to build towards a mass movement of using our collective strength and fighting for material gains. To achieve these, we employ tactics such as organizing protests, such as different types of teach-ins, not just on Palestine, but also other common things that are linked to Palestine and the collective issues we see, such as mass incarceration. For example, we are active with what we're seeing with the new county jail, engaging in community building, canvassing, and pressuring politicians through showing up in public ways such as county council meetings, city council meetings, and having one-on-one meetings with elected officials. We strive to create meaningful change and build solidarity with the local community. Ways that we can get support and involvement, and that we're looking for your support is multiple. One hoping if you're able to show up to any of our events, I will share our event calendar that is consistently updated. We do cultural events that center Palestinian culture, that's oftentimes food and dance. We also do mental health. So we do healing spaces if people need a space for a safe space to process what's been happening. We do educational events, as I mentioned, teach-ins on various topics. We also do protests. And one of our biggest initiatives right now is we are seeking signatures for our initiative for Cuyahoga County to divest from Israel bonds. Right now, there's $16 million in Israel bonds that Cuyahoga County holds. So far, County Executive Chris Roynane does not seem to be open to dialogue on divesting from those bonds, although Israel has received multiple credit decreases, and also it is an unrestricted loan, essentially, where they're using it to purchase weapons to continue on this war. We're asking for signatures as organizations and individuals to sign on and hopefully get more support. Outside of that initiative, we are also hoping to continue to mobilize and to get other parts of the city and county politics to also get on board, because it's not just Cuyahoga County, other counties in Ohio, and then the state also has bonds. So the state of Ohio has 260 million. And we are hoping to kind of get trends like we saw in Summit County, which decided to not reinvest in Israel bonds.
Did she freeze or is she ready for questions? We just lost Malak. Malak, are you there?
We just lost Malak.
I think she's back. I think she's back. Hang on a minute. And Don,
Okay.
while we're kind of discussing, we're putting all this stuff in the email tomorrow follow-up, the link to the petition too. There she is. Malak, you need to unmute. Steve, I'm going to text her.
Oh, I apologize. So sorry. Sorry.
Malak, it might be better if you turn your camera off. We just lost her totally. Hang on a minute.
It looked like she was still driving.
I just text. Oh, she's coming back in.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you now.
I am so sorry. My service was not doing well. I apologize about that.
That happens.
Let me think, where did I leave off? Did you guys hear that the last part about our initiative for the bonds? And I think my last comment, I'm not sure where it started to cut off, but that was where I think it started to cut off, which is our biggest initiative right now is for the divestment of the $16 million bonds that Israel, that Cuyahoga County has in Israel bonds. It is the only foreign investment that they currently have in their portfolio. And I will send links to not only that, to sign on as an organization. So if you are a part of another organization outside of this and they have not signed on, or you think that they haven't, there is a list on the sign-on sheet to see if they have. But as an individual too, we're seeking taking signatures, and I will share our calendar.
I think we're losing her again.
Yeah, it sounds like she's having trouble with her internet.
Malak, can you hear us?
I don't. Can you?
Steve,
Yeah, can you hear me or?
okay, now you're okay. We totally lost you there for a minute.
Do you guys hear me?
Yes, you're
Yes.
good.
Sorry. Hello? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I
She disconnected. Don, is there something that you wanted?
Oh, no, I was just trying to let her know that we couldn't hear. I know I have to
Oh,
let,
no, I got it. I got it, Don. I didn't know if you wanted to add something.
I
You
could
cannot
add
unmute
you.
yourself because it prevents a Zoom bombing in case somebody were to come in and
Right.
try to
No,
do
no, I
that.
hear you. I could add a little bit. I know the last thing she was saying, she would share the calendar with us of upcoming events, so that's great. I'm in the chat with the CPAC group, the Cleveland Palestine Advocacy Community, and I did attend a meeting last night. However, I couldn't stay for the whole thing. But I've been going to the council meetings, and the focus will not, we've been saying, pack the county council meeting. But that focus is shifting now because, we could be doing other things as well. We're still going to have 10 to 12 people attending the council meetings every other Tuesday, but we're not going to pack the room anymore. The last one we did, testimony was mostly people saying the name, since it was a year and a day since the Israeli incursion began, the genocide on steroids, because there's been a slow genocide for decades, as we know. So in any case, the people read the names of the children who have passed, have been martyred, as it said, and all of our testimonies reflected that. And we just had testimony after testimony. Everybody signed up. There's 30 people allowed. 26 of them, or 25 must have been from our group. And then the Israel bond supporters show up, and we expected them to show up in droves since it was a year since the hostages were taken as well. But they didn't necessarily. But like I'm saying, that's not going to be the focus so much, but we're still going to attend. Yeah, I'm not sure what else Malak would have said, but yeah, just keep posted. Follow Cleveland Palestine on Instagram, and you'll know what the next events are. We'll put it like that.
Well, we have a section in our newsletter, upcoming solidarity with Palestine events as well. So I try to keep up with it. A lot of times you get me stuff done that I put in there. So, yeah, it was interesting in the news today. And maybe get some of your thoughts on this. There was this letter that the Biden administration supposedly sent to Israel saying that you have 1 month to lower the death rate, or else we're going to consider stop sending aid. And so, yeah, I'm thinking, and maybe you guys tell what you think. I'm thinking that this is great if it's true, but that 1 month date is after the election, and and there are people who are not sure who to vote for because of this issue. Is that real, or is that a campaign ploy? It's hard to know for sure. Let's see.
Steve, she's going to join us with by phone.
Okay.
And Brian just said another stalling tactic is to get Kamala past the election.
Right. I didn't say it that way, Brian, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Go ahead, Don.
Thank you. So as we know, there's an ongoing famine in Gaza, as well as in Haiti and Sudan. But related to Gaza, 30 days is BS. I mean, come on, people are already dying. They should have ended the Israeli sending weapons to Israel months ago. For one thing, Blinken lied back in May, right? When he did not disclose to Congress that the shipments had been stalled. Okay. And so that should have stopped Israeli weapons then. That's all I'm saying. So 30 days is a bunch of bull.
I am so sorry, everybody, for all of my terrible connection issues. I am so sorry.
She's back.
All right, Malak, you're back now. Let's hope we have no further issues.
Can you hear me?
Yes, you're good.
Yes.
Can you hear me better this way? Okay. I think it's my Wi-Fi and the video was not working. I apologize for all of that. Hello?
Yep, you're good. Is there something else you wanted to add, or do you just want to take questions?
No, I just wanted to say I'll share those links, but if there's any questions anyone has on the call, outside of what will be shared for events and the petition itself.
I don't see any questions.
Okay, and thank you again for also bearing with me with patience with my terrible connection, but I will follow up with the link so you can send it out tomorrow. And I thank you again to the both of you and all of you on this call tonight for this time that you gave me.
Actually, we do have a question. Don just raised his hand.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Don.
Thank you. Hey, Malak, thank you.
Don.
I did attend the meeting of CPAC last night, but I didn't stay. And I reported to the folks here that the focus, and you might have said it, I'm sorry if I missed that, that we're not going to focus on the county as far as packing the county council anymore. We're still going to attend, but do you know if there's any other focus that you would like to mention now, or should we just keep following Cleveland Palestine on Instagram and whatnot?
Yeah, that is correct. So we won't be doing the typical biweekly PAC County Council because we are investing more time in individual relationships, but also boosting up for the actual petition and having conversations with partners and hopeful individuals who will sign on. We will just be going like organically for people who do want to go, or if they want to make public comment to tie in like local issues to Palestine. We don't have currently any other big focus shifts that are in the works, but if we do, we will post it on our Instagram page, and I'll make sure to share that link as well, that people can follow the page to keep up to date.
I have a question for Malak and maybe Don. A lot of people were anticipating back when school resumed a resumption of the protests at the college campuses, but that it doesn't seem to happen. I'm curious why it was so intense in the spring, and then college students went home for the summer, which made sense. It's not going to continue, but why didn't it resume in the fall?
So I think one of the things that we saw, which was a reason, is at least in the example locally for Case Western Reserve University, the response from the administration was very strong against the students. The student body, many of them are actually still reeling from the implications and effects of the university kind of flexing their muscles on them. We have a lot of law students who were not able to graduate, who are also still battling legally their ability to obtain their diploma. We have other students who didn't get as much disciplinary action, but are still reeling from that. And the school actually is being very strict on how expression can be on campus. And I think the reason why, from what I've gathered from the students who were able to go back in the fall, is they don't necessarily feel they have the tools and resources available to continue on into the fall. They did try to do something kind of like a memorial, and they were not given approval by the school to do so on October 8th. So there's a lot of it, I think, is the lack of formal systems in place to support them if they were to do it again, given how difficult the Case Western Reserve Administration has been in response from the spring.
Okay. Any other questions?
I could answer to a little bit to that too, Steve. And Case Western did, as many campuses did around the country, they set up a new guidelines for free speech to tighten up the free speech, as so to speak.
So I have a question. Why don't they take it off campus then? If there's a group on the colleges, why don't they just hit the streets, the city streets?
So there is a lot of protests that go on quite regularly. For example, there was one to commemorate just about a week and a half ago, or last week on Friday. It was a protest visual memorial all together in one. It was on Lorraine Avenue, which in Little Arabia, close to Western 17. There is also one in the works being planned, especially with the continued onslaught and more aggression than they have been in Gaza. With the bombing of the tents in the hospital, and which many people were burned alive. There will be one coming in the coming days. So the students are still mobilizing, but they're not mobilizing on campus anymore.
I actually have another question. We know that the Biden administration has been terrible on this issue, but if the other guy gets elected, might he be even worse?
Yeah, I mean, I think the position, we have not taken any political positions as an entity, although there are many movements, as of course many saw at the DNC, the uncommitted movement, who was still trying at that point to rally the Kamala and Walt's support for like an arms embargo and a ceasefire. I think what a lot of the sentiments are is on the stance of Palestine, both will be bad. One may be more silent and not as deathly than the other, but when we think about how worse this has gotten in the past year, there are many people that thought that, at least on Palestine, they're both one of the same, but there will be no benefit to the Palestinians. But there are many individuals who also understand that this is a game, not, and in a figurative way, a game that we have to play where, who could we have the best chances with in the next coming 4 years to get Palestinians more rights and more recognition over the other candidates. So you are on point. I think what the sentiments are is a lot of people are emotional and hurt, over a year later, and they're relating the current administration and current presidency to the vice president as being complicit. So it is unique, but I still hear many individuals more so leaning towards, if they are planning to vote, there are many who are really committed to the party, and then others are committed to voting for the Democratic Party ticket in hopes that there could be some change that happens.
Mark, you have to unmute, and if you could use the raise hand feature in Zoom, that would be better. Go ahead.
So I hear many of my friends on the left talk about they are unable to support Kamala Harris on moral grounds because of the Biden administration's support for what Israel has done. And I just wonder, though, Steve, I think, asked a good question. Is there a benefit of voting for one over the other? And I would say certainly Harris, because at least she is open to being pressured. Trump is not. What Trump will say to Netanyahu the day after he wins is, you can do whatever you want. And that will mean expanded war in the Middle East and intensified raids and persecution and killings of Palestinians and Lebanese and others. So I think there is a difference. Plus, of course, there are all of the other issues that regarding a woman's right to choose and other things that means that I don't think it's wise. And frankly, I would say it's not serious politics for people to say, oh, I'm so conflicted and I'm going to have to sit this one out, or I'm going to vote for, bless his heart, Cornel West or someone like that. There are only two candidates running, and only two candidates can win. And I think we should all support Harris while at the same time attacking Biden and her for complicity in what goes on in U.S. policy toward Israel and toward Palestine.
Thank you, Mark. Anybody else? Well, thank you for coming tonight, folks. Again, look for that email tomorrow, and fingers crossed on November 5th, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.